Hi guys, this is Maria. Welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I will be talking about major kindergarten milestones. I am homeschooling my 3-year-old and 5-year-old due to COVID, and we started in spring when all of the schools closed down. And back then, I knew the milestones that my children need to reach, but it was really hard to find an exact things that I can check off my list and know that we are prepared. Now, a lot of you are homeschooling this year, a lot of you doing remote learning, and I think this video will be very helpful. Well, number one thing you should do is go to Google and put in what are the kindergarten requirements in my state, whatever state you live in, and it will give you a PDF document of all the things your child should do. This video is aimed to give you a better idea on all of the things you can work with your child, and also in no way it is meant to assess the abilities of your child. It's just merely to give you a guideline on what you need to focus if you have like a 3-year-old, 4-year-old that is ready to go into kindergarten next year. It is quite eye-opening when you start homeschooling the kindergartners how much reading and writing they do at this age in school. So one of the things that I recommend doing is making sure your child knows all of their uppercase letters and lowercase letters by the end of their 4th year. Also, they need to know the correlation between uppercase letters and lowercase letters. For example, you show them a big H and they know what little h looks like. Then the next step is also to make sure your child knows all of the letter sounds. It's a big part. You need to make sure that your child can tell you the name of the letter that you're showing them and what sound does it make. For example, letter H makes sound H. And once you start working on phonemic awareness with your child, it's breaking down the words by sound, so they are able to know the first sound of the word, the last sound of the word, that will help them with their writing in kindergarten. Now, one of my subscribers actually asked me to film all of the sounds of the letters video. If you want me to do it, I can sit down and just do like the flashcards and go through all of the letter sounds based on what was sent to us by the school. If you do, message me in the comments below and I'll do that video for you. Just visually scanning and knowing the letters is not enough because the children are doing lots of writing, so your child needs to know proper letter formation. There is plenty of exercises that you can do leading up to kindergarten depending on your child's age. Tracing is one of the first one, and that's where we are with my 3.5-year-old. Some kids will have different strengths and weaknesses. You will see it if you have especially multiple kids at home, and you need to leverage their strength and work hard on the things that are challenging. As an example, my 3.5-year-old is an extremely smart boy. He is able to memorize his sight words that I do with Scarlett, and he is present for it. But him forming the letters is a bit more challenging because he is, like many boys, is really focused on his gross motor skills. He's all about jumping, crawling, rolling, kicking, skipping, and he's really good at mimicking and memorizing things. So with him, I just do lots of tracing books. We do Kumon, but wherever you see it, there is really no good way of making this work easy and fun. It's just certain things. What I tell my children, some things are just work and you need to get it done. So I do lots of tracing with those books. I also do lots of tracing of his name, of the numbers. We do also letter tracing in the beans and quinoa beads that I have. Then another way to leverage strength of your children, on average, girls are a bit more into defining their fine motor skills. Again, every child is different. With my daughter, she was really creative, so doing lots of coloring activities always helped her to develop that pencil grasp. Again, just to give you an idea, when we were in our 4th year, we were writing out letters, we were forming our letters. Kindergarten started and we are writing full-on sentences. There was 3 months between those two stages, so you need to make sure your child is prepared to copious number of writing work, so they have to have their finger strength. So perfect their fine motor skills, make sure you do all the activities that develop the muscles and that they can write for a long time. When it comes to numbers, your child needs to have a very good understanding of numbers from 1 through 10. And it's not just being able to count. Counting is rather easy skill, but it one-to-one correspondence and also an ability to break down the numbers from 1 to 10 and understand the progression. The reason why they need it is because once they move on to teens and tens, if they know the progression of those numbers and they have a very good understanding of how it forms, it's really easy to explain to them how to form the number 14, then 15, and 16, and all. Once your child knows the correct progression of the numbers, and there's several great ways to test it. One of them is just a mystery bag, having the child pull out the number out of the bag, tell you what that number is, and pick out the correct amount of object that corresponds to that number. Once you feel like they're really well prepared, there's several activities that you can do, such as forming the teen numbers. And again, you can have an object that represents 10 and explain to them that 10 and 1 will make 11, 10 and 2 will make 12, and so forth through 19. Once that is done, you can go to counting by pairs, by twos, learning odd and even numbers. Also breaking down numbers from 1 through 10 is also important. For example, as knowing that 9 is only 1 away from 10, 8 is 2 away from 10, counting backwards and forwards. So doing all those activities to have the foundation, because again, in kindergarten, there are such concepts as, counting by tens to 100, forming the more complex numbers. Beginning of addition will start closer to the end of kindergarten, but at the same time, having an ability to break down the numbers is more important than counting. To work on with your children prior to kindergarten, understanding the sentence structure. For example, finding the noun in each one of the sentences when you're reading the book. It's pretty easy. You can just point it out whenever you're reading their favorite books. Then moving on to understanding the shapes. Now, the shapes are all around us, and you actually don't have to work too hard on this because most 2-3-year-olds already know their shapes. So when you go outside for walks, you can always point out the triangles in the roofs, the squares in the windows, and so forth. Now, there is a big chunk of fine motor skills that your kindergartner should acquire prior to starting that school year. One of them is cutting. Make sure your child is able to cut on the line and cut out complex shapes. A kindergartner should be very proficient with their scissors. Typically, you start introducing scissor skills at about the age of 3. Now, another thing that you could work on with your child is ability to replicate the designs. It's important also in handwriting. It's just important in sequencing and understanding many concepts. So, as an example, replicating the designs with blocks, replicating the designs in patterns. There is many works that can be done. A few other additional skills that you might want to work with your children at that age is understanding the day of the week progression, also ability to write their name, their first name that should be able to write pretty much by themselves. Their last name they can still be tracing by. Even though we do Montessori at home and I use lots of hands-on materials, I actually believe that it's a good concept for many preschoolers because kids at that age love concrete materials. So I will be sharing in my upcoming video all of the classical Montessori materials and how we use them at home, things like team board beads, the colored beads, and also all other materials that we use in Montessori kindergarten. So if that's the kind of content you're looking for, subscribe to my channel and I hope to see you later.